Hello, my name is Rafael Nunes Teixeira. I'm a PhD student at the University of Amsterdam, and I'm here to discuss a little bit about my research that I'm going to present. So it is the pain to take, framing effects, crowding out and crowding in of prosocial motivation, a Dictator game. Incentives are often used to promote prosocial behavior or hinder antisocial behavior. So often we see cases of using fines or any other monetary sanction to avoid antisocial behavior, but we also use like giving money for blood donation to try to increase the blood donation. But sometimes it backfires, leading to what is defined what's a crowding out of prosocial motivation. Crowding out of prosocial motivation is an interesting but controversial behavior. Since we have several examples, the classical example of Vinicius Schettini in the fine as a price in the daycare, implementing a fine, but it's often contested, even this classical example is contested, and we don't really know if like what are the reasons behind, every reason behind this behavioral change. Moreover, we also have different types of monetary incentives implemented in real life. We can think about fines for inappropriate behavior. For example, if you're drinking in the street, depending on the place that you are, you can receive a fine after you be caught doing this. But we often implement monetary sanctions as fees as well. So for example, if you think about doing some project that have any environmental damage, you would have to pay some fees or to do some projects before doing the project to allow to be able to do such things. So these are two different types of monetary sanctions, but they are actually in economic terms, they would be the same. It's just a fixed cost. So our goal is to have a better understanding of crowding out of prosocial behavior. We want to implement this the most direct and simple prosocial interaction in a Dictator game. We're going to analyze two different types of behaviors, a fine and a fee. The fine is a sanction that comes after the inappropriate behavior. The fee is a sanction that comes before the inappropriate behavior. And then we also want to check if social norms can be the reason for any behavior change. Our main idea is that the monetary sanction might affect the individual perception of the situation, which affects the social expectations in this context, which leads to behavioral change. So what we do, we have a Dictator game, and that both participants start with some endowment, but player one or participant one can take money from participant two. They play multiple rounds, and some rounds they pay it with the monetary sanction, and some rounds without the monetary sanction. Different groups face different types of sanctions. Some groups the fee, so that you have to pay €1 to be able to take money, and some groups pay have a fine that you have to pay €1 after given that you take any amount of money. So after the game, we try to elicit empirical and social expectations. For empirical expectations, we get the average, we ask for the average behavior, what would be the expected behavior for the other participants in the group in some specific cases. And we also use the Krupke-Weber method to measure the appropriateness levels of specific behaviors as well. So what we have so far, so what we can see. So in general, the implementation of the sanctions do not change the aggregate behavior. This means that on average, the participants take the similar amounts of money with and without the sanctions. But if we actually pay attention what's going on, these results is actually hiding two different factors. The first factor is that some individuals stop taking money at all. They stop taking money after the implementation of the sanction, and this is pushing the mean down, less money being taken. And moreover, these individuals who are taking large amounts of money, which can be also a reflection of what can be considered a crowding in of prosociality. While the individuals who kept taking money after the implementation of the fine, they actually increase the amount taken. This is actually evidence for a crowding out effect. This means that different individuals are affected differently by the sanction, and even though the aggregate behavior might hide some results, the individuals by itself might have different effects, like some positively affect, other are negatively affected by the sanction. About framing effects and social norms, there are significant differences between the fee and the fine. And specifically, the fee leads to less people taking money, so lower amount of participants were taking money during the fee condition compared to the fine condition. For social expectations, we don't see that the fee and the fine affect any prosocial behavior. So the change in behavior are not associated with the changes, but we can generally correlate the individual's behavior with the individual's expectations, which means that participants with lowest expectations generally take lower amount of money, less money, and individuals with high expectations generally takes more money. So in conclusion, we try to analyze the impact of different monetary sanctions on a dictator game. The sanctions have different impacts on different individuals. Some individuals use the sanctions as a motivation to stop taking money, indicating a crowding in effect. And the fee leads to fewer people taking money than the fine, which is the evidence for framing effect for these types of sanctions. Individuals who kept taking money after the implementation of this sanction increased the amount taken, indicating social crowding out of prosocial motivation. And social expectations associated with different levels of behaviors at the level, but it's not associated with the change in the behavior. Thanks for your attention, and I hope to describe it in more details in the presentation.